Welcome, everybody, to the next episode of the Cannabis Review. I'm delighted to be joined in this episode by Daniel Levinson, who's the founder at Atlas Canna Consulting based in Israel. How are you keeping today, Daniel?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you very much for taking your time to do this.
Thanks for having me. This is great to be here.
Delighted to have you on. Do you want to give everybody a little overview of how you came from property in New York to founding Atlas Canna Consulting and being based out of Israel?
Sure. So originally born and bred in New York, grew up there and moved here to Israel about 6 years ago at the age of 25. After being involved in property development and real estate investing in New York, I jumped in with seeing everything going on in the CBD space. I decided to jump in and get involved with CBD sales in the UK, Europe, and the US. And here in Israel, decided to get more involved in the industry. Worked for an investment fund for a brief period as a consultant, doing deal flow. And after that, opened Atlas Canna Consultants to help, some of the companies with new market entry opportunities and fundraising and business development in the industry.
Okay, very good. Can we maybe jump on to the first topic of conversation I wanted to talk about, which is basically an overview of Israel. We all hear a lot of information about the R&D side of things that since the 60s or 70s, you guys have kind of been at the forefront of this scene. Do you maybe want to break down for everybody, what does the Israeli industry look like? What is the most prominent sector? Is it biotechnology? Is it cultivation? Is it medical R&D? Well, I saw there that Philip Morris recently acquired an inhaler company that were based out of Israel as well.
Yes, sure. So, here in Israel, we have quite the experience with medical cannabis. First, Dr. Raphael Meshulam, who recently passed away, unfortunately, but having first isolated CBD and THC as independent compounds and researching them. And, from there, we've had a lot of experience in, the R&D side of things, from clinical trials to delivery devices, as you saw with Psych Inhaler, just getting an investment from Philip Morris. And we, right now, I think what's shining is, the industry as a whole. We've had a medical program since the early 2000s for patients being able to access medical cannabis. We have, many local cultivators as well as importers and brands that have entered the market here in Israel. We have 120,000 patients to date, on average, receiving about 30 grams of medical cannabis per month. And, each patient needs their prescription from their personalized doctor. And we've seen just a lot of, opportunity in that sector, with brands looking to enter the Israeli market. And that's really where we're trying to stick our feet and really help brands come to Israel and help them, navigate the regulation, and the market as a whole.
Everybody knows that Israel is a hotbed for startups, especially in the med tech space. Is the capital access for companies who are starting in this industry or looking to expand on a global footprint? Is the access to capital there in the Israeli industry?
So it's still medical cannabis. It still has its stigmas attached to it, like in every market. Capital is, definitely drying up in the cannabis space, and specifically here in Israel, compared to the tech sector, it's definitely harder to access. Not as many investors, feel comfortable with the opportunities. But we're definitely, we've seen a bunch of public companies go public in the past number of years. So we have, I'd say about 5 or 6 of our companies listed here on the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange, as well as other exchanges such as the NASDAQ and the CSE. And we, it's just not, I think it's an issue in the more, in the broader medical cannabis market, not just here in Israel, an issue of access to capital.
Yeah, it seems to be that regulations and rules are exactly where prime investors want them to be just yet. Do you imagine that federal legalization in the US will spur on the Israeli industry like it will Europe?
100%. Being as I'm from New York and having, many contacts and industry relationships out in the US, seeing markets like California, Colorado, being there in person, watching them go from medical to recreational, and now in New York, just spending about 2 months in New York just a few months ago, seeing the opportunities that lie in the regulated adult use markets is definitely something we're looking forward to, some clarity and regulation in the US. And I think that will definitely trickle out as, here in Israel, we're a pretty small country. We are 10 million people. We like to, look at New Jersey as a for analysis purposes. But, being as I'm from New York, we're definitely, and the recently adult use legalization over there, we are definitely looking forward to, that kind of trickling out into the European markets. And we do believe Israel will head that way in the future.
I was over in Tel Aviv myself personally in June, and I was actually surprised at how many people were smoking cannabis in public, and there didn't seem to be any real pushback. Is Tel Aviv more of an outlier when it comes to Israel, or is this tolerance widespread across the country?
Yeah, so we have we have passed decriminalization here in Israel about 2 years ago, where now, if you're caught smoking and up to a certain holding up to a certain amount, we will not be you will just get a fine at the end of the day, and up to 3 strikes, I believe that is. But here it's not just Tel Aviv; it's all over the country. We have a large, constituent of adults, between the ages of 18 and up, who are, can be consuming alcohol legally, who, are drafted into the military at the age of 18 here. And, we're seeing cannabis just, open up its doors to them. And, being as we're a Middle Eastern country, there's a lot of, the cultural attachment to smoking is definitely relevant to this conversation as well. And, I believe they say around 20 to 25% of 18 of adults between 18 and 60 have used cannabis in the last year. So we do have a large, kind of black market or gray market, and people who will dabble in it.
There's a lot of big companies coming out of Israel. We talked to Ilan Sobel from BioHarvest Sciences, as we mentioned, the deal that got Philip Morris. What is the tip of the spear when it comes to the Israeli industry? Is it technology applied to the cannabis industry? Is it biotechnology? Is it medical R&D? What do you think is the strongest part of the Israeli cannabis scene?
So to date, being as we're dealing with cannabis and it's treated as a narcotic here in Israel, we do have a lot of regulation, as well as a pharmaceutical that it's being treated as. We do have a lot of regulation and hoops and ways we need to drive the any devices that are used in delivery of this medicine is considered a medical device. So you need to go through classic medical device approvals for with the Ministry of Health, and as we see Psyche Medical going for regulation with the FDA. So the hoops and hurdles that we're experiencing are definitely very difficult. Right now, we're seeing a large push on the consumer side and the marketing and branding of these medical brands that are coming to market. But I do believe in the future that there's a lot of R&D and a lot of more pharma focused companies that will come to the forefront as clinical trials become more prevalent in the cannabis industry, and people start really focusing on the pharma and medical side of this plant, as well as as opposed to where we have it now, which is this quasi medical slash adult use conversation where we're not getting down to the real values of where we could be bringing this plant, both in the adult use aspect as well, with the pharma approach, which I strongly believe in.
Yeah, I think there's a huge value in that side of the industry, and those people who can create new formulations and new blends of terpenes and cannabinoids and apply them to whether it's CB1 or CB2 receptors or inflammation or chronic pain, whatever it may be. That seems to be the big leap that's going to happen in the cannabis industry globally over the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, and I think unfortunately, we're missing a little bit of that due to the hurdles that we're experiencing as an industry along the different markets. So I do believe in the next 5 to 10 years we will start to see a lot of biotech companies, and a lot of these, we have a very well-known terpene company here in Israel, Ibne, with botanical terpenes that are, really leading the way in R&D around the terpenes, and the effects that it could have, along with, CBD, THC, and the other cannabinoids.
Yeah, there's benefits to patients that have yet to be really brought to market and showcased as of yet. And I think, as I said, that's where the most exciting part is going to be. What is the future plans for Atlas Canna Consulting? And is there anything that you would like to tell the audience?
Yeah, we're continuing helping companies look into Israel as a market opportunity, We are actively pursuing capital on behalf of different companies as well. And, trying to look into Europe as Australia, the emerging markets, and really try to connect the dots. Myself being from North America and New York, the U.S., really, I think there's a lot of opportunities between Canada and what's been done in Canada. The U.S. wants federal legalization. Federal regulation exists, let alone legalization, and Europe becoming the market that it's going to be. We all know it's going to be. I really believe there's a large opportunity in connecting the dots, and that's our goal at Atlas Canna Consulting, is really to help companies connect the dots in new markets, whether it's fundraising, finding distribution partnerships, and looking at JV opportunities to help further the market and help develop the market as we're in this growth stage. It's a little painful, of course, during this time, but I do believe that the coming years where things will start shining again, and investment capital will start coming back, and we'll really see the cannabis industry really develop into what we know it can be.
Yeah, I think the industry, the quagmire that everybody's in at the moment, is going to get rid of some of the people who are just here for a quick buck. And I think the next 3 to 5 years, you'll see the real professionals come into this industry and stay in this industry, and they'll be the ones that'll be able to foresee the future growth of this sector globally, not just locally.
Yes, definitely. Helping the brands carry through, and the real market makers will start to emerge, and we're here to help along the way.
Well, speaking of that, we look forward to bringing the Cannabis Summit to Tel Aviv next year, and look forward to working with you on that, and hope to see you in Brussels in October if you can make it. But time is up now for Daniel. Thank you very much for taking your time to do this, mate. It's very much appreciated.
Thank you for having me. This was great, and we're looking forward to having you guys here in Tel Aviv very soon.
We look forward to it. Until next episode, everybody.